Books are the treasured wealth of the world and the fit inheritance of generations and nations. Henry David Thoreau.
As a result, I created a list that compiles the top 100 books that I think are most relevant to you guys as a result of learning about the stuff in more detail that I talk about in this channel. It's not a comprehensive list. It's not going to provide every piece of knowledge that I have developed over my lifetime, but it's going to be an excellent starting point to really help you understand just some of the sources and some of the frameworks that influence a lot of the stuff that I talk about on this channel. And you can get access to the bibliography just by clicking on the link in the description below or in the pinned comment. However, I'm not going to leave you at that. I'm going to also talk about 5 of these videos that I think are the most relevant to the recent videos we've done on old money, which seem to have been hitting a nerve with the audience here. And so I'm just going to explain just a brief recap on the top 5 books that I say are related more to the social class topic. And the first one of these I'm going to talk about is Bubble in the Sun. And Bubble in the Sun is a book about the first great real estate boom in Florida. As I've mentioned before, Miami was an incredibly small town in the turn of the 20th century. In fact, like in 1920, the population of Miami was lower than the amount of subscribers on this YouTube channel by a decent margin. I think like in 1910, there was only about 1,200 people who lived in what is now Miami, Florida. And due to Henry Flagler expanding the railroad from St. Augustine down to Miami, and the rise of the car and a variety of other technological innovations in the 19-teens and 1920s, Florida became a popular winter destination after being a backwater state for over a century. And the development of how South Florida's original suburbs and the city of Miami developed, and later how the real estate bubble that formed as a result of the enthusiasm of Florida crashed, provides like a good backstory to how boom and bust cycles tend to work, and also how pockets of old and new money emerge as a city grows through these booms and bust cycles. And also, it's just a fun read in general, and it's a good way to learn. There's good lessons to be learned of how what happened in Florida in the 1920s is similar to what happened to Florida in the 2008 crisis, and what was likely to happen to Florida the next time they have a real estate bust. The next book I'm going to talk about, which is one I've referred to a lot in the comments, and I have a 1-minute book review I've already done on this, is Old Money by Nelson Aldrich. Nelson Aldrich is 4th generation old money. His grandfather was a senator. He was very well connected with old money circles in the Northeast. He went to a St. Midas school. He understands the dynamic of old money, and he wrote this book in the late 80s, and it was the time when new money was at its peak in terms of being a challenge to old money. And he is able to really explain the difference between how old money view their position in society versus new money, why old money often has contempt for new money, and a lot of the responsibilities that traditionally old money felt like they had for society, but really since the 1960s has been starting to abdicate. This idea is the noblesse oblige, which I did a video on as well, but you learn a lot more about it in greater detail by reading this book. There really aren't that many great books about old money. A lot of them are just like how to dress like your old money, or what are the old money cities, or how to fit in. But if you want to really think about like the mindset and the economic tensions and social tensions, this is one of the better books out there. The next one I'm going to talk about is a book called Scale. And Scale is a book that really tries to explain the law of scale, which shows kind of like the limits of how big cities can grow, or how big biological life can get before it's just the gains from size are outweighed by the drawbacks of the increased stress on the body, and about the scale of things on the population level, cultural level, business level. And there's kind of natural power law dynamics that kind of to why things get to certain sizes before they either deteriorate or fall apart. Like an example really mentioned in this book is that with cities, no matter really how safe the city was at a smaller population, crime grows at an exponential rate relative to the growth in population just across the board. And there are several other examples of that. And understanding scale and the limits of scale will help explain why certain things in economics and society are unsustainable or mean revert or can keep growing or can't keep growing. I think it's not really a purely economics book, but it's very relevant if you're trying to understand the world from a more economic framework. The next book I want to talk about is They Made America by Harold Evans. And this is a book that I had to read as part of an entrepreneurship class in college, but it was one of the better reads I did have in college because it was basically told the stories of America's great business owners and founders, from the steamship days and the Vanderbilts to the founders of Google today, and how they built their businesses and what were the challenges and the innovations that really kind of changed the world, and how America, the country, really literally developed on the backs of these entrepreneurs pushing the advancement of industrial and later digital technology. And the most interesting one actually is the story of Bill Gates, which is not really talked about much, about how Bill Gates built Microsoft, because he's done such a good job on the philanthropy side to try to cover up like the past of how his company was built. But I'm not going to spoil it, but it's a fascinating story, and I think it's probably the best part of this book. And the last one really is The Myth of Capitalism by Jonathan Tepper. And this book really kind of explains that it's not really capitalism is the problem really with the economy, and inequality is not really the problem either, like Thomas Piketty likes to claim. Really the problem with why you haven't really seen a more broad-based distribution of the benefits of economic advancement is because you have lost the teeth of antitrust. And you've just seen, due to economies of scale from the internet, or just lacks antitrust enforcement and a variety of other causes, you've seen companies consolidate more to just few bigger and bigger companies. And as a result, you've seen the economic profits being shifted up away from small business to a few shareholders of the largest companies in those fields. Even though it seems like we have a growing society, but it seems like there's a lot of stagnation because of the issues when it comes to excess concentration in the business world. Overall, those are just 5 of the many books in the list. If you want the rest of them, download the reading list and let me know what you think. And I will update it periodically as I continue to read more and educate myself more. Thank you for watching.